On the tax title,
Right.
sorry. On the tax title, right.
Yeah,
We know what that number in the 5-year total?
Yes, and that was one of the trends that I was interested in looking at, is that the tax titles have grown from 2006 through
I have-
2009. The 2010 number is incomplete because a large piece of it seems to come the following year.
right, it won't come till February, that's when they usually. Right now, the balance sheet that we've just completed, there's 805,000 in tax title alone.
All right, so that's one of the numbers I was looking for.
So there's no tax title in 2009?
Uh,
There was someone, Lori Ann said something about
Yeah,
that.
that's because of the new accounting system, we didn't bother making the change until we went over to the new system, because it was, just saved us a little work.
So does that show up in the tax title figure for 2010?
What went in tax title in 2010, yeah, see how it's.
Yep, the
it's
243?
243, yes, that's the 09.
That's the 09. It went up 100 grand?
Because we didn't do subsequent in June.
No, it's an amazing jump from 2008 to 2009.
No, I don't think you can look at it that way, because the 2010 number is for 2 years.
Yes.
Right, Joe?
Right, correct.
Okay, then what's the 140 number below the 243 number? What's the difference between those two numbers then?
That's what went into tax title for 2010. Those are just the subsequent. Those are the ones, remember, people already have accounts that they're not paying,
Hmm?
so we do there's something called subsequent tax title takings.
Yep.
So that goes into your tax title account. But the big number for 2010 will come in February, when we actually, because we give people warning,
Yep.
we'll try to contact them, please pay your tax.
Yeah, and the 2010 number, Mike, right?
Yep.
If you look at all of the others, it takes the following year before the numbers get closer to being settling out.
So when you say take the number, you're talking the 140 number or the 243 number
Yeah,
above it?
like if you're looking at the trend, it went from 116 on tax title to 167 to 270. It dropped off in 2009 a little bit. Now, that may pick up because, it's only 2 years of history rather than, and then the 140 is only 1 year.
1 year.
So that number is definitely gonna go up if you look at
Yep.
what's going on in the past,
Got it.
right?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I don't mean to slow things up here. I am getting a little bit confused. Didn't we say that the tax title is flushed at the end of every year?
I did.
Okay,
Yep.
it's flushed at every year, so it starts new every year?
The balance for that year is new. Yeah.
Right, so when I look at the activity in 2010 of 244,000, that's for that year alone, correct?
Jeff, I just want to be sure, I'm talking about the receipts. So the receipts, when we collect those monies don't accumulate. Those monies get translated
Okay,
into
so
free
I'm
cash.
mixing
Not
that
the
up.
commitment, but the actual receipts.
And I'm saying on a balance sheet, right, it's a lien, so it's an asset that the town,
Right.
doesn't have cash,
Right.
but it's got a lien against somebody's mortgage.
Right.
Not mortgage,
Some
somebody's
communities
property.
have actually, to raise cash, have bundled all of those and sold them.
Right.
Of course, that's a one-time gain in
Right.
cash that I wouldn't advise we do.
So,
But it is really an asset that you can sell.
A key number right now, if we look at, we have $801,000, and I think roughly is what you said in tax title,
805,000.
85.
So Jeff, we start new each year, but it adds on to what you piled on in previous.
The tax title adds
Tax
up.
title, because it's an asset. And when you collect it, actually it goes down
But
when you collect it.
has any of the tax title gone down? I'm not seeing that here. In other words, it was 88 in '06, right?
Hard to tell unless you look at,
It was 88 in '06, and then in,
It was, Jeff, I had a slide from a previous year where, I think it was in like 2002 or 3, it went down. And then it had been building up,
I remember that, yeah.
right?
but in 2009, 2010, the fiscal year just completed, the sheet that I give to Greg, estimated receipts, we collected $218,000 in tax title. So if we didn't collect that, we'd be way over $1 million.
So some people have either sold the property in the process, had to clear the
Right.
liens off the
Right.
property.
But is that on here? I don't,
No.
no,
That's
okay,
not, this is just what happens to the receivable just by themselves.
okay.
This was done at my request to kind of get a picture of where trends were going with our tax collections and
Mhm.
liens and trying to get a better picture of actually what was going on from a trend point of view, which we'll be discussing at the financial planning team meeting, so.
Good idea.
And the refund issue, which is a plus, which is a question I just raised to Joe, because when I was going through this over the weekend, I kept looking at that and I said, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. What it is that the ending balance that he comes up with, right, he's actually taken an account for that, and then since it's paid out, he makes that adjustment. So, the way he explained it to me, I understand it now.
The refunds reinstate the receivable. If somebody overpaid and we reduce the receivable by too much. So when you
So
give that refund, it's gonna boost up the receivable,
Mhm.
your outstanding, I should say.
So,
Makes sense.
That's understandable.
so the other thing you notice that when you look at the ending balance in the totals, you'll see very quickly that over time, things have either been collected or been turned into a lien,
No, it's a good number.
right?
Those
And
are good.
2010, it's much too early to
Well,
make that.
Right, it's too early.
Hopefully people will pay.
that's a good trend.
Very good. Any other questions on this? Next,
You have an exempt, a non-exempt debt service summary. This is the lump sum of the debt payments that's not exempt from Proposition 2.5 and what we owe yearly, starting with 2011.
which one are you on first?
The non-exempt,
Okay.
that should be in order. It should be non-exempt with fiscal year 2000. Our obligation for debt is $1,132,548, with a breakdown, principal of $891,000 and $241,000.
Now, let me explain that Joe and the accounting department have a master spreadsheet with every single borrowing and what it was borrowed against. And I asked for the simplicity of understanding, where the trend is, and when we think about bonding now, and, you can take a look at what our commitment is of existing debt. Okay? So this is just an accumulation of all the non-exempt, and the exempt being anything that was done on an override.
Okay, and the other piece to this is we have a debt stabilization fund with a balance of $1,603,000, and we've committed $613,441 of that to the
Current budget.
for the budget. So we have $989,000 left.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Any questions?
It's doing its job.
Yes, it is. And if you look at it, what's good news is if you're looking at our non-exempt debt, because a lot of that ends up being 5-year kind of debt, it falls off pretty quick after 2 or 3 years, which, we should keep in mind when we're thinking about our capital plan
Right.
from borrowing. And of course, the exempt debt is what it is. And that's gonna hang in there for quite a while, although it is falling off, but
Yeah.
not at as rapid rate.
Yeah.
And I assume that the biggest payments here would be against the Batchelder School that we didn't get reimbursed for, the police station, Smith property. Those three, I think, are probably the drivers for what's here. I think there may be still some, the elementary schools, are those all paid off now? I don't remember.
No, but they would be on the non-exempt. One of them got called, they just called the bond.
I'm confused here.
They're still looking at
Exempt
the
means-
non-exempt, right?
No, I was looking at the exempt, I'm sorry, Joe.
I'm sorry, the exempt,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Smith isn't exempt.
I didn't think so.
Nope.
No.
The
No,
Smith
but the
was not
police-
exempt?
Yeah.
Police department, excuse me. the
Oh, I
police
thought it
is.
was. I guess not, okay.
Can I,
So I couldn't hear that.
the Smith property isn't exempt.
not.
Not exempt, right.
We didn't do
I-
an
Not
override.
exempt.
Just
Same with the Eisenhowers.
Just a question, when
Well,
you,
the Eisenhower I knew, I
On-
was,
on the exempt debt, if you look at 2025, and then you go to 2026 in the net debt column, it's such a drastic drop-off. But if you look at the rest of them, they don't seem so drastic, or is it just in my,
couple things that are,
it's more than 400.
The school drops off after 2024, because that's when the SBAB reimbursement.
by the way, this,
Oh, okay.
the 790 could be actually only what's left of the principal.
Yep.
Or something hanging there.
That's what I was asking, just, everything else seemed to have a pretty understandable flow, and then I was trying to just do some quick math,
And you can see the SBAB.
but that I didn't look at, yes.
Reimbursement.
Yep,
yeah.
thank you. That's good.
And it also asked Joe to, and I think this is the next sheet, to give us a list of outstanding bans. These are borrowings that have been approved by town meeting that have not, as of yet, been converted to bonding. So they're on a temporary ban. And I suspect in September, some of these, if not all, will be converted
September 22nd, you should all
to,
know
permanent
that.
borrowing.
Did you say September 2nd?
Pardon?
Did you say, I'm sorry, September 2nd?
September 22nd is,
22nd, I'm sorry.
Is the plan for 100% of these on the 22nd?
yes, because we're filling out information now for the bank, so these are on the list.
Is this $900,000, Joe, factored into your non-exempt debt
No,
schedule at all here?
no.
No,
No,
because
I
it's
had
not-
asked that
it's not
we
here.
kept it separate, Steve.
I will get a recap of everything we borrowed and the terms, and then I will add it to the non-exempt once the bank is it.
And as far as determining the term that we're going to borrow, some of these things says, some of it's a swing, 5 to 15 years. When are you gonna determine whether it's gonna be 5, 10, or 15 years?
I did this afternoon.
Oh, you did this
I
afternoon?
said, they asked me if I wanted to leave the equipment at 5 years, and I thought, it was better to leave it at 5 years. I mean, there's small amounts, so.
So which ones are you, so the,
Anything that's equipment, like everything that can be 5, we're gonna keep 5.
okay. That's good.
So then the only real questionable one is 20 or 25 years on the school roof repairs.
But it's not a lot of money either. So did you determine on the school, which way you're going, 20?
They didn't ask, so. I don't want to assume, but I think they'll go with the 20, the lesser.
Would make sense.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Right.
I mean, I can check with them tomorrow.
What meeting will we be approving these for permanent debt in September?
Probably be the first meeting.
The first meeting?
Right.
So we'll take another look at this then, and we'll get
Good
it.
look at that. Well, we're gonna be ready to sign that, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah, so,
What?
yeah, if you could check on that one.
Yeah, we want to keep them as low as possible, is that the intent?
Yeah, I'm just curious why it's 20 years. I know you have 20, 25.
Yeah, I'm just saying, this is what you can borrow for if you want to.
That's the legality of what you can.
So for a $50,000 ban, outstanding ban, we're gonna borrow to 20 years?